Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1Mby1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator for technology startups. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do a lot of different things. These roundtables are one of them. This is the 535th session, and over 150,000 people have participated over the years. We started back in 2008. So we've been kind of doing 45 plus roundtables every year, more like 48, for the last, 12, 13 years. So it's been a massive experience of getting a window into entrepreneurs all over the world, literally all over the world, and it's really fascinating. In addition, we have constantly tried to push the democratization envelope, and you may have seen that we have just also introduced the Udemy courses that are very well priced and affordably priced, and very short modules that you can munch on basically and learn something quickly, but are very rich also with case studies and information that will help you in your journey. So we started with 1Mby1M Premium, then we introduced Basic, and now we have introduced these courses. We have Incubator in a Box. So the full scope of 1 million by 1 million has continued to expand and broaden to, applicable to broader and broader populations. In fact, one of the things that thrilled me was the minute we launched the first Udemy course, somebody from Nepal completed the first course. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. I really love that. So this event is being recorded. You are very familiar, I think, if you've been here before, but if you haven't been here before, every single roundtable recording is available on our YouTube channel, so you're very welcome to check them out. And on Twitter, we're at 1Mby1M, and that's Romana. We publish a lot of interesting, informative, educational content, inspirational content, and today's hashtag is 1M1M. This is a roundtable, not a broadcast, so we invite you to participate as much as you like. These are the call-in instructions. You can also activate your computer audio and speak through that. Either one is fine. But not right now. We have some scheduled programming first, but I will put the slide back up a little bit later. We're having a heat wave, by the way. All of Western United States pushing east. 65%, I think, of the United States is going to experience over 90 degrees temperature in the next few days. So it's a very, very important time to stay cool. The reason I bring it up is, on top of everything else, California gets wildfires. And we have a lot of friends in the wine country and in Marin County, Sonoma, Napa counties, where fires have been raging for the last few years. So between COVID, wildfires, and the cyclones that have been washing through the east coast of India and to some extent the west coast, it's been a lot of nature's rage that humanity is countering right now. So anyway, it's with great pleasure I want to welcome San Banerjee, co-founder of ADDA, to today's roundtable guest. As you know, we have guests almost every roundtable. And San I met a while ago and listened to her story. I loved her story, so I wanted to invite her back. And also, I use these roundtables to catch up with people. So this is my opportunity to catch up with San after a while and learn how things have been and how things have evolved. So I will highlight the part of her journey that I know, and then learn more about what has been going on in the last few years. So welcome, San. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shramana. It's wonderful to be here. The first time I came in contact with 1Mby1M and you was, I think, back in 2010. We had just started the company, and I happened to participate in your roundtable. I think about 2 or 3 companies had pitched, and I took down so much of notes. I was just telling Maureen that the next day, first thing we do after our stand-up is, sit with my co-founders and discuss with them all this that I had learned, right? And now there is a plethora of startup knowledge everywhere, right? And that time it wasn't so. So this was, and I'm like the first entrepreneur in my family. It's not like we talk about business on our, dinner table at home. Yeah.
Right.
So what I learned from that roundtable, I think, was very useful and helped us through during a lot of bootstrapping crosses. And then I think 2013 we spoke.
Yeah, that's right. So, since you bring up the bootstrapping journey, as you know, 1Mby1M is heavily pinned on the bootstrapping philosophy, and we use that as we have no quarrel with fundraising. We have a company that just raised money. So we introduce our companies to hundreds of investors. We work with many hundred investors at this point. But throughout our journey, bootstrapping remains a fundamental cornerstone of how we build companies. So, Sam, your story, I remember from our 2013 conversation that I had, noted and at that time I was still kind of toying with a lot of the methodology building blocks of how entrepreneurs successfully bootstrap, what are the creative bootstrapping strategies. And one thing that I was hearing over and over again is this bootstrapping with a paycheck mode of how entrepreneurs are starting companies as side hustles and getting to a point and then going full time with it, which was against the grain of everything that was being discussed in the entrepreneurship world. Oh, if you don't commit full time, you are not serious, and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, really? That's what the investors want to say, but that's not what the entrepreneurs are doing. That's not how the entrepreneurs are navigating their bootstrapping journey. So, of course, today we have turned that into a major methodology building block. And Sam, thank you for helping me in that process of, validating what I was learning from the market and turning that into a methodology building block. So talk about your experience bootstrapping ADDA, and specifically do share a little bit of your bootstrapping with a paycheck phase.
Super, will do. So Shramana, a little bit about what we do, right, our business. And you said about nature's rage, which gives me an opening that we are very, very passionate about community living. We love the fact that, 100, 200 families can live on a same piece of land where probably 4 or 5 independent houses can be. So we are all about residential communities, and we provide a SaaS platform, complete SaaS platform for managing residential communities. The ADDA app is for every owner and tenant living in a residential community. It caters to everything that they require for a happy community living: communication, payment of bills, finding local vendors, booking facilities, etc. And this is powered by a complete backend SaaS, which is available to the building management. So now talking about bootstrapping with a paycheck, as you say that. So our journey started when we ourselves became residents in an apartment community, a residential community. And I was working, my husband was working. But once we ourselves became part of the board of the HOA, we firsthand realized all the issues that are present in managing a high-rise. And there weren't many standards and compliances already published by the government that we could easily follow. So we went out looking for systems, and there weren't any. So we decided that we both, me and my husband, had all the right experiences and skills to build something just for our community. So we went about that, and then you know what happens. You just, you fall in love with what you're building. You talk to a few other people saying that, hey, we're building this, and then we realize that they too have the same problem. And so you start doing so-called market research, right, without even knowing you're doing it. And it came to a point that my co-founder by then, which is my husband, he took a sabbatical from his work. So he was full-time into it. He was building it. He was coding it. And I was supposed to be doing the market research, gathering requirements towards building the MVP. But I could not quit my job because obviously then running the family would be a big problem. And we were already starting to pay for the servers and things like that slowly, as some of the early users were hopping on. So I continued my job. The good thing about this business was that our prospects would meet us on Saturdays and Sundays. So these were typically the board members in the HOAs. So in India, they're called management committee members. And they also obviously have their full-time job Monday through Friday. And this is a volunteering service they do. So they are also available on Saturday, Sunday. And Saturday, Sunday is my time. So I was like Monday through Friday on my consulting job, and Saturday, Sunday going out all over Bangalore, meeting these management committee members, gathering requirements, bringing them back to development, and again, taking it back for sales. So this is how it went on.
Did your employer know about it?
My boss knew that, I was working to build something for management committees, but this segment did not exist that time. So, from my perspective, their perspective, it didn't even look like a business, It was like, okay, you're just doing some kind of service or, some.
And boss knew that you were tinkering, but he didn't really take it seriously.
No, and then as long as it does not impact the work, the job you're doing, right? And Saturday, Sunday is my personal time, right? And I was not formally associated with the company. I was not on the rolls. I was not a director. I was no way associated. It's like I'm helping a friend pretty much to build something, right? So that way we made sure that, we have no conflict with my employer, because that would not be correct. So, yes.
So how long did you continue in that mode, and what did you accomplish by way of customer acquisition before you actually went full-time with the company?
Okay, so this, I think, went on for a year. And by the time I quit at the end of that year, we had about 6 or 7 customers, right?
Paying
it wasn't
customers.
a lot. Yeah, paying customers. It wasn't a lot but one of the customers was a large one. It was a 500-unit community who paid us 3-year subscription in advance, right? So that was a lot of faith put in the product. Yeah.
That's the seed money.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
See, this is what I love about people who kind of internalize the bootstrapping philosophy, is that if you can negotiate well, your seed money comes from customers, and then you haven't done any dilution, you haven't really chased with a begging bowl, all the VCs and all that. So
totally.
Yeah. Talk about some of the strategic lessons of your building ADDA. What when now it's been 11 years almost. So when you look back on this large swath of time, what stand out as the things that you did right that are lessons from the trenches?
Absolutely. See, one thing I have learned is that one can approach building a business from a problem-solving perspective, like, get so committed to a problem and wanting to solve it for the entire market globally. That's one way of building business. Another way of building business is to build wealth, right? And there's no problem in both these styles of approaching it. What you talk about bootstrapping applies very well in the former type, when you really feel committed to solve a problem, you feel capable, uniquely capable to solve a problem. In that case, when we go about building a business, it's very important to build the bootstrapping DNA in, right? Of course, you can raise money, and we realize this because we want to raise money on our terms, right? And because we knew how to bootstrap, we knew how to play this game and win despite very large competitors. Because we had this bootstrapping DNA, we could sail a lot of ups and downs Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that, knowing that, we wanted to build this business no matter what. We get funding, we don't get funding, but we are doing this. We are building this business.
And
We will be number one.
elaborate on the competitive landscape, because you did face well-funded competitors. And this is a question that comes up often in our discussions, is that how do you, as a bootstrap company, how do you go up against well-funded competitors? So talk about that.
Okay, sure. So before this, Shravana, I'll just tell you where we are today. So we have over 500,000 paying users across 5 countries. And we are about 2 million ARR in revenue, 2 million USD. And product-wise, it is the most one of the most advanced such product in this segment globally. Now, in our journey, we have faced 2 large competitors at different times, right? And each of these competitors were having 120x more funding than we had. We do have some angel funding, but that's nothing compared to the VC funding that these competitors had, and they had really large reputed VCs backing them. So whenever these competitors will come in and they'll raise this huge funding, everybody will tell us, okay, time to go out and search for a job. You're going to shut down. How will you ever fight against that kind of money and things like that, right? So what would happen is, we, starting as a bootstrapped company, you know how to adapt very fast to anything, because you do not have a huge stash of cash, behind you, which you are throwing at situations, right? So you figure out strategies very, very adaptively and very, very fast, right? So the entire team is built that way. The culture is built that way, right? So very quick alignment happens. And then we have zero bloat. We have no unnecessary team, like a vanity thing that, oh, I'm having this 500,000 member team and all that, right? You want to be as lean as you can be. That's very
How many people do you have?
So today we have about 85 people. We have tried to stay below 100. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with that small team, it becomes very easy to align your strategy very quickly to any changes in the market, competitive landscape, etc. Number 2 is that we had very strong renewals, right? When we started building the product, our focus was that, okay, let's not focus on just keep getting users, like sales. Our focus was sell, but sell enough that you can renew. Focus on the renewals, right? Because it is a subscription product and it was becoming quite a vast product. So it was very important for us to listen to the existing customers, build what they want, make the product really solid before we scale our sales, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if probably we were running after the typical user acquisition metrics, that may not have been the case, right? Now, since we had renewal as good as 85% plus, right? Some years we had even 90-95% renewal. We had a very, very strong revenue, even if our sales reduced certain years due to competition, right? And if you have a really sticky product, your renewal customers don't go away to competitors very easily, even though our competitors offered completely free products. I'm not saying premium, right? They just wanted to completely wipe out competition. So they just gave the entire product free of cost. And still we maintained those renewal numbers, right? It did take some dip. I won't say that it was always 90-95. We did come down to 85, but even that is a very good number in subscription business, online subscription business. So that is something that in hindsight, I believe we did right. But it was a necessity, making very strong recurring revenue was a necessity if we had to keep bootstrapping always as one of our, part of our thread, company building thread.
Markets, have these well-funded competitors made big inroads into the market?
The first 2 to 3 years of these competitors gets brutal, right? So the typical strategies are that you get into the market,
with cash, and that cash comes into customer acquisition, and it becomes very tricky.
I'll tell you, it is a repeat. Now I've gone through 2 cycles, right? So the first thing that happens to you is that the competitor starts throwing money for customer acquisition, which is of course marketing budget and free products, right? After that, they would poach your people. right? Because if they cannot get customers from you, they will take out your employees. So that slows you down, and that does slow you down, right? And after that, they would try to acquire you, right? So when both of these things are not working very well, they would try to acquire you.
Yeah.
And when that also does not work, then starts the problem with them. That is, then the investors get, impatient that, okay, doesn't look like you guys are being monopoly here.
And the investors pull the plug and they go out of business. But in that, about 3-year time that they are in the market and trying to justify their existence, and that's the period that's tricky for a bootstrap competitor like you.
Absolutely.
So now both those competitors are out of the market now.
I wouldn't say that. The first one is out, yes. The second one's in one of the later phases. But I wish them best because, it's no fun without a really strong competitor. So we have gone through that phase also. When we didn't have a very strong competitor, I found it hard to keep my team motivated,
Yeah, really?
So,
interesting. Very
yes.
interesting.
Nothing.
But the point you make is actually well taken, because when there is when there are well-funded competitors in the market, they educate the market.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you a story. This story is actually kind of on top of my mind this morning because a very good friend of ours passed away recently. In fact, if you read my first Entrepreneur Journeys book, he was one of the case studies in that book, is the founder of Qualys, Philippe Courteau. And Philippe is a serial entrepreneur who did a bunch of really significant stuff in the industry. He had lung cancer and passed away recently. His, service is coming up. We're discussing the service and so forth. That's why it's on top of my mind. And he told me a story in that interview that I did for that we put in the first book. He had built this product called CC Mail. It was one of the first email products. At that point, Microsoft did not have, an internal email product. And Bill Gates was going around selling an email product, but Microsoft didn't have the product. So Philippe said he basically chased Bill Gates around to every account. Bill Gates did the selling, and Philippe sold the deal. I mean, what a brilliant strategy, right?
Absolutely. Bill Gates did the market education, and he actually got the deal.
Exactly. So somebody doing the market education is very helpful for you. So I would argue that in the two competitors that have educated the market, you are reaping some of that benefits, and you will continue to reap some of that benefits as you go along, because you're staying put. You have you have stability. Buyers will see that you have stability and you are a reliable vendor, and that's going to help you.
Yeah.
Great. So, San, next question I want to pursue is, in your customer acquisition, how much of a role did the fact that these apartment complexes that you were selling into, communities, the residential communities you were selling into, were full of technically savvy people?
We were very lucky that, we happened to be in Bangalore when we started it, because a lot of our prospects themselves were product managers, CTOs, and they were, almost all of them were working with technology. The kind of inputs we got were very well-rounded, and all we had to do is listen keenly, go back to them, build what they're looking for with, of course, with our internal validations and processes, but have that cycle go on very quick. And honestly speaking, even after so many years, our release cycles are minimum one or two per month, right? So we do very frequent and small releases, which delights customers. And we thought that, back when we were 2-3 years old, we thought, 10 years and there's nothing more to build in this product probably, right? It's a niche. But it's so amazing. Like today, just before this meeting, I was in a product build session. Usually it would be 1 hour, but nevertheless always becomes 1 to 2 hours. With so many new developments coming in, right?
Well, especially COVID, right? In these apartment complexes, COVID has upended everything, and the workflows and the requirements to keep a community like that safe. I mean, I hear stories from cousins of mine who live in these complexes in Bangalore and so forth, and the kids are stuck on the 37th floor, and God knows what's going on.
No, amazing use cases, absolutely. So we were relentlessly building COVID tools which can help these building management manage COVID better in their communities, because these are very densely populated communities, right? And infectious diseases can be really disastrous.
The maids, the cooks, and all that, yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So we built things like, vaccination tracker, a complete end-to-end tool for conducting vaccination drives, because a lot of these drives are happening within the community. So people don't have to go to hospitals and, increase the crowd there. That's one thing. Second thing we built was a good karma board where, neighbors can put up that, hey, if you're infected with COVID and you want home cooked food, I can provide you South Indian style food or whatever. Yeah, or somebody has an extra O2 concentrator. And absolutely. And something like this, a pandemic when everybody's home, right? Nobody's in office, everybody's trapped in their home. The demand on the community managers all the more, So this is when you feel so satisfied they are using your product so well.
Yeah. And how do you view the work from home trends, given all this is happening, and you have a direct view into what's happening with the work from home trend? How is that going to go? What is happening? Are people going back to work, or are they going to work from home?
Honestly, Shramana, I only know what's happening with our team, so I wouldn't be able to speak about so many other segments. So we are obviously a SaaS company. Everything is online. We've always been online with a lot of online tools, etc. So work from home came very naturally when all of us went remote. So today I have these 85.
These apartment complexes are full of technology workers, right? And the technology companies have been at the forefront of adopting the work from home trend and really making a seamless transition into work from home. And it would be interesting to see how that plays out in your population of 500,000 people. How much of that is in India, by the way, versus elsewhere?
Our user base?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have about 70% of the user base in India. Rest is outside. And
what other markets have you been able to crack?
So we are in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman, Mauritius, Malaysia, Singapore.
Okay. Great. So I think that is a very nice view of where you are and how you've navigated this journey. I'm actually thrilled that you managed to navigate all of these disruptions with the flushed with venture capital customers and all that. So I actually think your next phase is going to be more interesting and more lucrative. When I look at your business, and please pardon my giving you unsolicited advice, but I think there are business model expansions that you can do that will monitor. I mean, 500,000 users is a significant number of users, and these are prized users, right? These are people who are high-income users. There are a population of people who, if you can monetize that population with other business models besides the subscription fee, there's going to be opportunities to grow your business substantially. So I think you will have a more lucrative and more, higher wealth creating journey going forward if you stay with the business, which it seems like you will.
Absolutely. We've already started it, and it has a revenue share component with each community, right? So that we believe is a very win-win setup, right? Which also helps the communities grow, because ultimately they're not profit centers. They entirely depend on the maintenance charge collection that happens from the residents. So if they can leverage the platform where, we are monetizing as well as they're also getting a share of that monetization, then it just opens up the magic.
Yeah, very good. Well, it's really great to catch up with you, San. All the best. We'll be in touch. I'm sure we will end up doing a few things together, and we'll talk more soon.
Look forward, Shramana. Thank you so much for having me.
Stay safe.
Thanks. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Folks, we are going to go to the entrepreneur pitch session, and just a few expectation setting points. We're on your side. This is a safe working session. There is no other agenda besides helping you accelerate your journey. So don't be nervous. One of my saddest but also amusing memories is I was giving a talk in some place in Silicon Valley many years ago, and and somebody from the audience during the Q&A session stood up and said, "Man, my friends cried after doing your session, after doing a pitch at your session, because you gave such harsh feedback." Well, my intent is not to give you harsh feedback, but I will give you honest feedback. And I will give you honest, actionable feedback. So I want you to not be defensive. Just take the feedback in the right spirit, because I'm not going to give you a pat on the back. If you're doing something great, I will tell you, that's great, you're doing great. But the point of this discussion is so that I can give you strategy guidance on how to move forward and how to navigate better and how to accelerate your journey, okay? And if you disagree with my feedback, that's perfectly okay. It's your venture. It is your prerogative to do exactly what you want to do with your business. So listen to my feedback and decide what you want to do with it. Michael Norris from Toronto, Canada, is going to be pitching. Michael?
Guys, this is Hosni speaking. I'll be speaking with Michael, and Michael is sharing his screen. My name is Hosni Zaoual.
Right.
Yeah, let me know whenever it's fine to go.
You can get started. We are ready for your pitch.
All right, this is cool. Thank you. We are Tech Adaptika. We eliminate the distance in distance learning. So my name is Hosni Zaoual. Everybody calls me Hos. I'm the co-founder of Tech Adaptika. We created virtual reality worlds that you can imagine after COVID-19 just got very, very popular very quickly. I also facilitate few courses at Stanford University at the Graduate School of Business on the executive level. One of them is neuroscience and consumer behavior. What happens in your brain when you're completely hooked on Candy Crush and Facebook likes and thumbs up and all that stuff? So
Crazy, huh?
yeah, that's what we do, and we do that online, obviously. The reason why I mentioned that is because what we do at Stanford at the executive online executive program helped us a lot understand the emotional aspect of the online learner and the online teacher. So we can keep going, Michael, if you don't mind. So the biggest problem of online learning is that, check this out, people are lonely, and there are three ways humans learn how to, learn. The first one would be read a book or watch a pre-recorded video. That's great. All the learning management systems in the world do that. They feed you with pre-recorded videos from teachers you've never met. Still good, because it's important. The second one is to talk to someone or to listen to someone, a teacher who will be talking to you in front of a classroom. And that Zoom or WebEx does a good job. However, there's a third part, the way humans have been learning for thousands of years. Collaborative learning, learning from each other, learning by working together. That, unfortunately, neither the LMS, learning management system, nor Zoom or any video conference tool address that problem. Most of the time, you have 200 people online, everybody muted their microphone, half of them muted or just deactivated their camera. They're listening to someone speaking like I'm speaking right now. I'm not speaking with you, I'm speaking at you. And that's what we're trying to solve. We try to fix this collaborative learning issue. Move to the next slide, Michael. So the value proposition, if you don't mind, actually, I'm just going to go off track here and perhaps share my screen, if that's okay with you, Michael. Do you mind?
No, you can. No, you can. I'm scared. I'm driving the screen.
So I see.
What you've sent in.
So I won't have access to my screen, eh?
No.
All right. That would have been easier to show you actually the virtual campus where everybody has an avatar and everybody can talk to anyone. So you can go to any, for instance, conference center or any building on the campus where you can run into each other. You can click on any avatar, know who they are, and if they're interested for you, you can just talk to them. That kind of approach to online education or online human interaction changes completely the emotional aspect of the online learner. All of a sudden, they're not just listening to someone, they're actually active and they can click and see who is interesting for them, like LinkedIn, but go straight ahead and talk to them. So on top of going to class, to an auditorium, being able to listen to great speakers, you're also able to browse and see who is here, who is not, and able to talk to them directly, almost like in a real conference. Except in the real conference, you have to shake hands, say hello, what do you do? What do I do? Perhaps we can work together. Here, you don't even have to do that. You click on the avatar. If they're interested you just go and talk to them. Next slide. So the market, obviously, initially we created this virtual reality campuses to counter the impact of artificial intelligence on the job market. By 2030, 600 million to 800 million people will lose their jobs. We wanted to create a place where companies can retrain a lot of people in a more human way, more collaborative way. And then COVID hit. Nobody was ready for that. And we had to basically move things very fast to respond to the demand. Conferences, educational institutions, K-12, universities, corporations, everybody started to say, hey, we'd love to see an approach that is different than Zoom. So you have a global school market, it's 1.6 billion, but then the global e-learning market is $325 billion. And that's just going to keep going up. Biggest use of...
Hosni, while we are on this slide, I want to give you one piece of feedback that you should file away and then go back and address. I'm assuming that at some point you want to raise money for this. These kind of numbers are irrelevant for investors. The number that investors are looking for market sizing is the bottom-up TAM analysis. So you need to create that. This slide should have a bottom-up TAM analysis. These numbers are irrelevant.
Sounds good. All right.
Go ahead.
So the company exists for the past year and a half, and we generated over $2 million revenue. No investment. Cap table is pretty clean. It's actually not pretty clean. It's super clean. Yeah, we have 18 months of runway, so we're not in a rush to actually raise capital. We are meeting with VCs every single week.
That's the best place to raise capital from if you want to raise capital. You don't have to raise capital. Our philosophy is entrepreneurship equals customers, revenues, profit. Financing is optional, exit is optional. You live life on your terms. Do not go to VCs as beggars, go as kings. If you can continue down this path, VCs will come to you. You will not have to worry about it.
Ramana, it's actually, a funny story because pre-COVID, we started working on this and we tried to integrate every single incubator downtown Toronto and San Francisco. And guess what? Every single incubator rejected us. Every single one. Why? Because at that time, EdTech wasn't sexy. It wasn't fun. It wasn't hip. They were like, we'd rather go on FinTech or blockchain. Forget about EdTech. The only place to host our offices was the third floor of a school in the project. Literally low-income neighborhood downtown Toronto where there's a lot of refugee kids, a lot of monoparental families. And guess what? We actually turned that approach into a huge competitive advantage. We signed a deal with the school board where every recess on the third floor of that school, we bring kids to test our technology and our design. We went with the assumption that if you want to create something that will democratize to the masses, you have to design it for people with mental or physical exceptionalities or for kids who don't know how to read. That was the perfect environment for us. I give you another example. The potato peeler. The potato peeler wasn't done for you and I. It was done for people with fine motricity issues. They couldn't hold a knife and peel a potato, so we designed a potato peeler. Now, everyone in the world uses a potato peeler. Same thing with texting. Texting was made for people who can't hear properly. Now, everybody uses texting. Well, that was basically our approach. And this is how we basically dig deeper into the emotional aspect of the online learner and teacher.
This is the slide that I want to really understand to be able to grasp your business. So 7,000 plus users in 11 months, that's great. 20 plus events, all this is great. So $2 million ARR, you said, yes?
That's right. Well, that's right and not right, because we exist for the past year and a half. So we see what's in the pipeline right now, and it's like 3 times this amount. So I know that if we talk in 6 months, it will be way bigger than that.
Okay, so now where is that number? Where are the customers coming from? What, are these the school boards who are buying this? Who's buying? What segment are you cracking?
That's a very good question. When COVID hit, we thought that educational institutions like school boards, colleges, and universities will be the first to go in. Well, guess what? That was our assumption, and it turned out to be absolutely wrong. Totally wrong. The decision process at a school board and university is actually super
very
long,
lengthy,
right?
Very lengthy.
There's like 12 people who needs to make a decision about moving one step further, even with the COVID crisis on their hands. Well, education, we have around 40 school boards who signed in, few universities, but that was a hard one, especially a year ago when we just started. The people who really adopted this technology quickly, the first one, the conference world. People had large budgets and they're like, we need a place where our attendees, our guests, our hosts can interact in a very organic way. Everybody has an avatar.
I know this market very well. I'm involved in a company that has been the leader, although their big business came from webcasting, but they had started the business with virtual conferences. And you may be familiar with On24. It's a public company. They had immense growth in COVID and went public earlier this year. And they saw huge demand for virtual conferencing solutions. And I am very familiar with this trend that the conferences are really trying to go virtual in a very meaningful way. So yes, I'm not surprised to hear that conference market is where you're finding traction.
Well, if you please put us in touch, that would be wonderful. We have some competitors, don't get me wrong. They are way older than us, but with no pretension, that work that we did for 4 years at the school, just digging deeper into the emotional aspect of the user, made our technology definitely better than theirs. And we have a lot of customers who went from them to us right now. So if anything, we really like having them around because they're converting more people to this new way of interacting online. So we can go to the next slide.
I will be happy to put you in touch. We have you're going to need to join the premium program if you want to work with me in a meaningful way, and I will be happy to. We connect all sorts of dots. So hang out. I will explain how to use the 1Mby1M program.
Okay.
So if you want to touch on the competitive advantage, go ahead.
Yeah, the competitive advantage. I mean, first of all, we are the first in the world that create interactions among people through the web. Basically, you don't have to download anything. Web, meaning mobile. Mobile, meaning the first youth on the planet, Africa. 41% of the people in Africa under the age of 15, a lot of them have cell phones. They don't have computers. Providing education, or good quality education, to as many people as possible, that's what we want to do. We want to help all these universities, colleges, corporations train the masses in a very simulative and collaborative way. Creating a community of learners, that's what we want to do. And this is what our competitors don't do. By the way, our competitor, Virbela, that is 10 years older than us, has been acquired. Good company, love these guys. They've been acquired by a real estate company. And this is where we are very careful with the VCs, because we want to make sure not to end up being acquired by a company that will basically distract us from our goal to revolutionize online education. I'm still a big fan of what
conference is not your target market. Education is your target market.
Well, when you say education, we usually think about K-12, and maybe a little bit university, but honestly, it goes way beyond that. As I said earlier, the beginning of this story came from AI and the disruption on the job market. I think there's a lot of work to be done in training the newly unemployed people by now to 2030. That is education as well.
buying cycle. You have to pay attention to buying cycle. If you want to build a big company, you have to pay attention to buying cycles. We can talk about that more if you decide to work with us. The thing that I noticed in your presentation is you're kind of hopping from market positioning to market positioning. You're talking about school boards, you're talking about conference, you're talking about Africa, you're talking about unemployed people training. This is too broad. If you want to build a big company, you're going to have to position tightly and execute tightly. Otherwise, you're going to be spraying and praying, and you're not going to get into a high velocity growth mode. But I do think that you have something here which is clearly validated with your $2 million ARR and your pipeline. So keep executing. And if you decide that you want to work with 1Mby1M, I'll advise you on how to position the company.
Okie dokie. We went from 7 people to 57 people within 9 months.
And all these people all in, you're in Canada, yeah?
USA, Canada, Europe. So can we get back to the previous, oh yeah, there we go. So the previous slide, here we go. So what we wanted to do before, once we have the technology super solid and a competitive advantage, we wanted to set up what we call the park. The people, the architecture, the routines, and the culture. That took us a year to do that. Attract the best people, set up the architecture. And once we do that, it's not a 2-man show anymore, a 2-people show, because Carrie Purcell is a huge add-on, but alone we can't. We wanted to make sure that this company can scale. Right now, every department is really set, except the sales. We need bigger sales. Technology is set up, administration is set up, routines is set up. For the sales, we need to hire not junior people anymore. We need to pay very strong salespeople all over the world to get us these big organizations, big universities, and so on and so forth, and big contracts. So we want to turn these 57 employees to 300 employees within the next 2 years. And most of that will be in tech and sales.
You have to position the company. You cannot hire in all those segments. You have to choose which segment you want to go after, which is the highest velocity path to growth, and hire accordingly. You cannot have so many segments. At this stage of your business, you cannot have so many segments. That's the message that I'm going to want you to take away from this conversation, to really think hard on, is that what is the company that you're going to build for the next 5 years. Long term, if you make it to 20 years, you can do many segments. But in the first 5 years, you're trying to build a fast growth, high velocity company. That's what I'm hearing in what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that there is a playbook for doing that.
Well, here's the thing. I respectfully disagree, because when you take a look at Zoom, for instance, they didn't think about, hey, we're going to go to school boards first, and then we're going to go to that industry first. They are in the industry of online communication, and we are in the industry of online interaction as well, right?
Zoom is a completely horizontal product that got adapted virally. They did not hire sales forces in the way you're talking about hiring. To the extent they hired sales forces, it was an enterprise sales force. So that enterprise, building an enterprise business is a very predictable way to do it, and that's how Zoom did it. WebEx did it before them with telesales. Zoom did it following, because Eric was part of the WebEx team. So Zoom is a very well understood case study. What happened in COVID was a complete exception, where the consumerization of Zoom happened. That was not at the beginning of Zoom. Zoom went public without any of that. So I completely push back on what you're saying, because you have the wrong lesson that you're drawing from Zoom.
Well, time will tell. Time will tell. So that's pretty much it for our presentation.
All right. Very good. Very good. Very well done that you have already hit revenue and good solid revenue. You found product market fit in a segment. Bravo. You're doing great.
Thank you, guys. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Okay. I'm going to spend a few minutes explaining to you how to use 1 million by 1 million for those of you who want to use it. one thing, if you like what we're doing here, refer 1Mby1M to serious entrepreneurs. Everything we do is online. Everything is virtual. Everything is global. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you need to use help for building your ventures, you can go to 1Mby1M.com and you'll find lots of resources. We have a terrific blog, which a lot of people read and learn from. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series, there are 12 volumes of. These are case study-based books. You can learn from people who have done it before. And we've also started releasing a lot of our curriculum modules as Udemy courses. Maureen, we need a slide on this so I can talk about what we are doing with Udemy. These roundtables happen every week. As I said, you can come to them as many times as you want and you will learn a lot from them. Our full acceleration program is 1Mby1M Premium, and you will get extensive methodology guidance, a full curriculum, digital curriculum. You can access it from anywhere in the world. We will get you business development support and strategy consulting like this, but private roundtables. And we work with hundreds of investors. We help you with financing as well. So go do the 1Mby1M self-assessment. That's a due diligence proxy. You learn how investors do due diligence, what questions they ask. Do the bootstrapping course. This is our free 1-hour bootstrapping course that explains the 1Mby1M philosophy in detail. And you will find, I think, that very educational. Today you saw 2 case studies of companies who have successfully bootstrapped. If you get stuck, by the way, on the due diligence questions, do 1Mby1M Basic, which is our curriculum-only option, and you will, that's the $99 per month. You can do any aspect of the curriculum you want. And that's a good way to get into the program and start learning. So, there's a lot of material on the website. You can go dig around, see if this program is for you, and if you want to follow our methodology. There are FAQs, video FAQs, all kinds of things. You have a deep curriculum description. Everything, the entire methodology has been codified with case studies in the curriculum. So it's a very, very good curriculum to follow also, as if you want to use the 1Mby1M methodology to build companies. There are case studies of over 1,000 successful entrepreneurs. We do investor introductions. There is a specific policy, so you have to study that. It's on the website. You can look that up. Our methodology is lean, capital efficient, bootstrap startups. The philosophy is bootstrap first, raise money later, or not at all. As you can see, we have just shown you companies today who are companies that are not raising money, and they're still being successful, getting millions of revenue without raising money, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly great, actually. We always say, do not go to VCs as beggars, go as kings. So if you are doing good revenue, good high velocity revenue, investors come to you, and that is the position you want to find yourself. We have free roundtables every week, pretty much, no gap right now. That's it. We can take questions. If you have questions, please go ahead and ask. And if you have questions about the 1Mby1M program, please feel free to contact Irina. She will be happy to talk to you by email, phone, Skype, WhatsApp, whatever you want. And that's it for today. That is what we have. If there are any questions, I will take them, but otherwise, we're all set. Anybody? Questions quickly? All right, folks, we will adjourn for today, and we will see you next time. Thank you for coming. Bye.
Thanks, Samana. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for coming.